everyone, and welcome back to Sonia's Prep. Today is a cooking marathon for Rosh Hashanah. It's about 2 weeks before the actual holiday, and I'm making Shabbat, and I wanted to make all of these recipes Rosh Hashanah inspired. So come along with me. I'll share with you my biggest tips and tricks on how to have a stress-free Rosh Hashanah prep. I'll share with you some things that I do in advance that you can possibly freeze. I'll also share with you different techniques, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Now let's roll up our sleeves and let's get prepping. The number one thing that I do before I host or plan any event is sit down with a pen and paper and write down my menu plan. Once I do that, it's like a snowball effect where everything else just falls right into place. Here I'm using my new Rosh Hashanah guidebook that I've created and I posted on Etsy. I just created this to make the entire hosting and planning very streamlined and easy. I have a printable menu guide that I'm going to be jotting down what my menu plan is for each meal, and once I do that, it just takes all of the the chaos that's in my head. It's written down and I can move forward with other things like getting my guest list together and getting my shopping list together. So this just helps me take everything that's in my head and putting it down on paper. Once the menu is all set, I move on to my comprehensive shopping list and check off all of the things that I need to shop for according to my menu. And I love that so many of you who've gotten the ebook are raving about the shopping list. You're really loving it, how easy it has made your whole entire Rosh Hashanah, planning experience, because I guess a lot of you are having a difficult time just thinking about what you need to buy. So I'm glad that it makes it so much easier for you. I then have a quick glance at my cooking and planning calendar to make sure that I'm staying on track, and you can find the guidebook in my Etsy shop linked below in the description box. The first thing that I like to get out of the way when preparing for a major holiday like Rosh Hashanah are the challahs. They freeze beautifully and can be done well in advance so that you can have more of a time to concentrate, on more of the tedious tasks that you have to do last minute. I start off by proofing the yeast. I combine 5.5 cups of warm water, 4 tablespoons of active dry yeast, and 2 tablespoons of sugar and mix. I place a towel over it and let the yeast bubble. Remove the towel and then add in 1 cup of sugar to the mixture, followed by half of a 5-pound bag of flour and mix. I add in 2 tablespoons of salt and the rest of the 5-pound bag of flour. I mix again. I also add in half a cup of oil to help incorporate everything. Once all of the flour is incorporated into the dough, I add in the other half of my cup of oil and knead it for a few minutes. Transfer it to a large bowl, cover, and set it aside for 1 hour. After about an hour, the dough has doubled in size and we are ready to shape the chalot. After dividing the dough, I roll out each section out flat and then into a log. This is a cute shape that I originally saw on Instagram and I instantly fell in love with how gorgeous it was. I'm going to link the reel that I followed in the description box for you if you want to get a more of a slowed down version of how to actually make this recipe. As you see, it's a 12-strand challah, 4 of which have been dipped into first water and then sesame seeds, which makes them so pretty. I place the strands into a hashtag sign, but I interweave them so one can be over and one can be under on either side, as you see how I'm demonstrating it. And once that's done, you're going to have 2 sets of strands, one over and one under. So I'm going to take the one that's under and put it on over the other one. So the one that's under, you put it over, and you do that in a circular motion. So the one that's under, I'm putting over, and now we're going to rotate it the opposite way. But we're going to do the one that's under, over again, under, over. You're going to continue doing that until there's no more room to go. And then you're going to tuck in all of the little ends that are left over underneath the challah, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous, stunning challah. So I made a few of these for our Rosh Hashanah table, and I am so happy with how they turned out. Challah making, in my house at least, and I'm sure in all of your houses, is something that the kids just can't help themselves but get involved and pick up their sleeves and get, into the dough. They just love, I guess, that sensory, that texture. So there's no chance that I'm making challah in my house and my kids do not have to have some so that they could make their own little creations. This next challah shape is a very, very easy one. All you have to do is roll out 2 strands of dough, dip one of them into some water and then into the sesame seeds, and coat that really well. And then all you do is just intertwine the 2 rolls and it is done. You can just roll it into a little ball and you have a beautiful round challah. This next one was a 4-stranded challah, and what I did was wrap it around a little bowl so that we can fill it with honey on Rosh Hashanah, because it's customary to dip the challah into some honey on the Rosh Hashanah nights. Now that all the challahs have been beautifully shaped, I egg washed them with an egg that I have just simply beaten thoroughly. They are baked in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes until they are fully cooked. I love using this specific challah recipe because it just gets things done very quickly. It rises quickly and beautifully, and the dough stays together very nicely. So it's definitely my go-to recipe to make challahs. And as you see, they look gorgeous and they are absolutely soft and stunning. Honey cookies are one of those other desserts that are great to make ahead of time. Into a bowl, I added in 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 eggs, 2/3 cup of honey, 1.5 cups of oil, 1.5 tablespoons of vanilla extract. I mix all of that thoroughly, and I'll also have in a separate bowl, as you'll see, all of my drier ingredients. I have 4.25 cups of all-purpose flour that I mix with 4 teaspoons of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. And it's important to mix this really thoroughly so that you don't have any lumps in the actual batter. And as you'll see, my little helper is helping me in the kitchen to make this. Combine the flour with all the other ingredients and mix it until I get a soft cookie batter. Using an ice cream scooper, I place the batter onto the cookie tray. This makes roughly 48 cookies, depending on how large you scoop your cookies out. I'm going to be refrigerating them for about 10 minutes, and then I bake them at 350 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. I let them completely cool before placing them into the freezer bags. I love this recipe so much. Look how soft and chewy the cookies come out. I freeze the cookies this way right here by placing parchment paper right between the actual layers so that they don't stick together once they're defrosting. So this works perfectly. They taste as good as new, as if you just freshly baked them, and it's just something so nice to get out of the way to get all the baking done. So I did this about 2 weeks ahead of Rosh Hashanah. Another great thing to make ahead of time is honey cake, which is a staple at any Rosh Hashanah table. I do have a full video dedicated on the recipe and the technique, and I'll link it in the description box below for you. I love, like I said, to get as much of the baking done as possible so you can make this recipe double or tripled and store it away into the freezer before the mad rush of the holiday prep. This portion of the video is sponsored by Manukora Honey, so thank you to them for sponsoring this portion, and thank you to all of you who are always there to support me when I have sponsored content. Manukora is a super honey. The texture, color, and the nutritional benefits are unlike anything you can buy off the shelf or even at your local farmer's market. Manukora makes Manuka honey. It's a single origin super honey that comes from New Zealand, where the bees are only fed the nectar of the Manuka tea tree. Manukora has kindly sent me a jar and a squeeze bottle of their 850 plus MGO Manuka honey, their best-selling product. As you can see, it has this creamy caramel texture that just melts in your mouth, and I love that when I place it on my honey cake, it didn't just seep into the honey cake. It has this gorgeous, almost like caramelly look to it, and I really liked the flavor. As you'll see later on, I fed it to my kids and they just kept coming back for seconds. You can use this honey as you would use any other honey. You could add it to a cocktail, eat it raw by the spoonful, mix it with your tea. Just make sure not to put it into boiling hot water because you don't want to lose out on the magical MGO properties. You could also drizzle it on your oatmeal, toast, or granola, or you could even make a health shot with some ginger, turmeric, and lemon, which I would love to do in the winter time. If you head to monokora.com/Sonia, you get $25 off of your starter kit, which comes with the 850 plus MGO Manuka honey, a free travel pack honey sticks, a free wooden spoon, and also a free guidebook. That's manukora.com/Sonia to get $25 off your starter kit. It's so nice to have kids that are a little older now and are interested in getting into the kitchen. Miriam really wanted to participate in the Rosh Hashanah prep, and I absolutely loved it, and I let her have free range of the kitchen. She made 3 batches of the best chocolate chip cookies that I have up on my channel already, and the link of the video recipe will be down below in the description box for you. After Miriam scooped out the cookie batter with an ice cream scoop, I froze them and I placed them into freezer bags. So we froze most of them, but we did want to sample a few of the cookies, so we did bake off a tray as well. 2 to 3 days before Rosh Hashanah is the time that I would normally prep the actual dinner menu components, and I'm starting with the roasted eggplant on an open fire. And while that's going, I'm slicing up some Spanish eggplants into circles so that they can be made into a delicious, yummy salad. I placed some oil on the baking tray as you saw, and I layered the eggplants on top. I drizzle some more oil over the top of it and season it with some salt and black pepper. I then place them into the oven set on broil until they're nicely browned on both sides. But all this time I'm keeping an eye out on the fire roasted eggplant and flipping it every few minutes until the eggplant is perfectly soft. Once that happens, I remove the eggplant and scoop out all of the flesh and allow it to cool completely. To finish up the bouillon, which is the fire roasted eggplant, I add in about 2 to 3 cloves of crushed garlic with salt to taste, and then I'm going to mix it really thoroughly so I can basically break up the threads that are in the eggplant so it could be nice and smooth. Next, I'll be prepping the garlic and herb baby potatoes. I season the washed potatoes with salt and pepper and a good glug of some oil. I mix it well and cover it, and I put it away into the fridge to cook the next day so it could be fresh. So a lot of the components that I make the day before the actual event, I'm just marinating it and sticking it in the fridge so I can bake it fresh the day of the actual event. To finish up our roasted eggplant salad, I'm going to be making a simple marinade of some oil, vinegar, honey, salt, and black pepper. I'm also adding in a few crushed garlic cloves, and the measurements for this marinade is going to vary depending on the amount of eggplants that you're going to be using, but you're basically going for a play on sweet and sour flavorings in this salad. It is really delicious. It's always hard for me to get the exact measurements of this marinade correct because I specifically eyeball this recipe depending on the amount of eggplants that I'm making. My garden has been overflowing with tomatoes, so I decided to make a really large batch of madbucha. The recipe, of course, is linked below for you in the description box, and I wrote it down for you in a way where you won't have like so much leftovers. It'll be for like 1 meal or 2 meals. I food process all of the tomatoes and place them into a large skillet with oil, as you saw. I process the jalapenos as well, and I add them in. I place that pot over a very high flame so that it can reduce down very well, so get rid of most of the water, but definitely keep an eye on it and keep mixing it every 5 to 10 minutes or so until it thickens up nicely. While that's getting cooked, I'm using my garlic hack to peel a lot of garlic. Tomatoes have really thickened up nicely, so I'm going to be seasoning everything. I am adding in some paprika, turmeric, cumin, coriander, salt, and a whole head of crushed garlic. And I'm going to be mixing all of that thoroughly. I also add in a drizzle of honey just to balance out all of the acidity from the tomatoes, and it just looks perfect. Look at that gorgeous color, and it is definitely such a great hit in my house. It's spicy, it's tangy from the tomatoes, it just hits all the right notes. Because we spent the time earlier peeling all of that garlic, it makes things like making the garlic confit that much easier. I cover the garlic with oil and season it with some salt and red pepper flakes to taste. It's going to vary basically on how much you like it to be spicy. I also add in some seasonings of cumin and coriander for additional flavor. And I enjoy it, but you totally can omit that if you don't enjoy those flavors. I mix everything well and I cover it and bake it in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes until it's nice and soft. At this point, the matbucha that we made earlier has completely cooled off, and I'm placing them into containers that I'll be freezing for when I need them. So this will last me hopefully throughout the holiday. With the rest of the very many garlic that I peeled, I crushed all of them and mixed them with some oil so I can easily access them and quickly add them to any salads or meals that I'll be making later on. Next up is an easy marinade recipe. This is a honey garlic chicken. The marinade is all written out for you in the description box. I made this last year as well, and it was such a huge hit. It has such a nice balance of flavors. After pouring the marinade in over the chicken and over the baking tray, I place it into the fridge to marinate overnight. I'm using a second cut brisket in this next recipe. In the baking pan are sliced onions on the bottom. You also have carrots, sweet potatoes, a whole head of garlic, and baby potatoes. I seasoned the entire tray with some salt and pepper, onion soup mix, some paprika, cumin, and coriander. So basically all of the flavors that I would normally enjoy in a steak or in any type of meat. You can definitely customize it to your own palette. I just also make sure to add in half a cup of water, as you'll see, to the baking tray so that it doesn't lose out on any of the moisture. And of course, the star of the show is I add in half a cup of red dry wine, which adds tons and tons of flavor as well. And again, I'm going to be closing it and letting it marinate overnight in my fridge. This next recipe will work great with either string beans or asparagus. It's another marinade that has tons of flavors that can be made a few days in advance and be combined last minute. And as you guessed it, the marinade is in the description box. This video was long enough for me not to show you step by step, but I just wrote down all of the marinades for you so that you could follow along and make this for yourselves. Another main meal that I wanted to get done this day was my stuffed vegetables. So I carved out my tomatoes from my garden, some zucchinis that are yellow and green. And for the filling, I have 2 pounds of ground lamb or beef, or you could do a mixture of it. 1 cup of rice, a half a cup of tomato sauce, some parsley or cilantro, 1 apple that's been grated with 1 onion. I season it with 2 teaspoons of some salt, and I mixed everything thoroughly with my gloved hands, as you saw, and I'm ready to start filling up the vegetables. The things that I carved out, like the tomatoes, I placed it into the pot, as you see right there next to it. I have some bones over there with oil and tomato sauce and the tomatoes that I've carved out. I then proceed to fill all of the vegetables. This is going to obviously vary on the amount of filling that you're making. I have over here 2 zucchinis that are green and 1 that's yellow and a handful of tomatoes from my garden. I had to use them up, and this was the perfect recipe to do so. Once all of the vegetables have been filled, I cover up the pot and place it in my fridge so I can cook it the next day fresh. Another great side dish to make is herbed basmati rice. I have 2 cups of washed basmati rice and 2 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of oil, 2 cups of herbs, and I seasoned it with some salt. I'm going to mix everything, and you guessed it, I'm placing it into my fridge, and I'll be baking this off tomorrow. I feel like we haven't made deli roll in such a long time in my house, and we definitely did miss it. So I'm taking some parchment paper, flouring it really well, and I'm going to be rolling out the dough quite thin. I would say 3 times the size of what it is currently, so that it gets to cook through, because sometimes when you make deli roll, the inside stays raw if you don't do this step. I then take some stone ground mustard, place that over the dough, smear it all on, and place some deli into the middle and continue to braid the entire thing. After it's all braided, I egg wash it. As you see, I also have some frozen franks and blanks over there on the side that I'll be baking. The deli roll and the franks and blanks will be served as an appetizer for us for our lunch meals. I place them, once they're egg washed, into a 350-degree oven for 30 to 45 minutes until they're perfectly golden. On Friday, the first thing that I do is bake off my sourdough loaves, and to keep it festive and in the theme of Rosh Hashanah, I'm placing some cookie cutters over the top. The first one, as you see, is a shofar shape. I score around the cookie cutter, and it came out really cute actually. I'm so happy with how it turned out, because we are, I think sourdough is one of those things where you get very creative with the shapes that you do, and it's actually quite fun. And with the next one, as you'll see, I'm using an apple cookie cutter, and it was actually very hard to go around the shape of the apple. It looked more like a pomegranate at the end, but it doesn't matter. It was just a cute idea, and it was fun to create. My little girls are helping in the kitchen, so as you'll see throughout this video, that everyone really did participate in this prep, which is so meaningful and so nice, of course. This new recipe is from a friend of mine, Alina. She shared it with me. It's actually very delicious. It's branzino fish. I just placed in some salt, black pepper, paprika, some crushed garlic. I'm adding in some avocado oil. You could add an olive oil if you prefer. And I'm adding in some Bartonuro wine, which is so yummy and delicious. And I'm adding in some cilantro as well. If you're not a cilantro fan, feel free to add in some parsley. Keeping your clean washed herbs in some paper towels and in a glass container is actually a great hack to keeping your herbs fresh much longer. So that really does help me out when I'm prepping so much in the holiday season. So if you guys can use that hack, that would be amazing. It would save you loads of time koshering and cleaning it every 5 minutes. It feels like when we are in the kitchen preparing. This next recipe is a salmon teriyaki, super easy. Just throw on the teriyaki sauce and some sesame seeds over the top. It is a hit in our house. The kids love it because it's of course sweet and they do thoroughly enjoy it, and I don't mind giving it to them. This next fish is a garlic mayo salmon. So I make the marinade with some garlic, mayo, salt, and black pepper. This cut of fish is very thick, so I did season it on both sides as well, so it won't be bland in the middle. Into the marinade, I also add in some chopped up dill. I'm using my scissor here because it's just more convenient for me. And so I'm going to be mixing this marinade really well and basting the fish on all sides. Now that the fish for all the 4 meals have been marinated, I'm going to be placing it into a 350-degree oven, and they will be ready between 20 and 25 minutes. I received the sweetest little present from my little man who went shopping with my husband. How sweet and adorable. They brought home some flowers. It's around 12 o'clock now on a Friday, and I'm getting ready to bake off all of the things that I prepped the night before. So the chicken, the rice, the meat. I also started my osvo, which is a stew that we eat on Saturday for lunch. My stuffed vegetables are on the stove also to get cooking. And to cook them, I just fill them up almost to the top with water, but not completely because we don't want it to become soup. So as you can see, I did leave some room. As soon as it starts to boil, I'll come back and add in some tomato sauce later. And my kind husband is there putting the flowers that he got me into a vase. And I'm just showing you one by one how all the dishes are cooked. This is the basmati herbed rice. After 40 minutes, it's fully cooked through at 350 to 400 degrees. And I'm just fluffing up everything, and that is all done. Garlic baby potatoes are also done, and now the meal has actually boiled, so I'm going to be adding in some tomato sauce over the top. Whenever I make stuffed vegetables, I don't like them to just be in like broth. I like them to be in a nice tomato saucy type of a broth. It just makes it so much more richer in flavor. So I'm going to be covering that with the lid and letting that go for 2 hours nice and slow. The osvo is also almost ready, and I cooked this overnight and it is absolutely delicious. The garlic honey chicken is in the oven. I just took it out so I can baste it and leave it open for the next 10 to 20 minutes, and it's gonna come out delicious. You're gonna see. The brisket is also halfway cooked. I'm just basting everything, and it just all comes together very nicely and beautifully in the end. My husband Shai is actually the baker in the family. If you've followed me for a while, you know that in our family, Shai is usually the one who does all of the baking for all the holidays and Shabbat. And that was the way for all of our years of marriage, because once I married him, I realized he's good at something. Why not get in his way? So I stepped back from baking, and I only started getting back into baking when I opened up this YouTube channel so I can just, I guess, show my creations. But just wanted to show you that literally every single person was involved in this Rosh Hashanah prep. They're using the Beis Yaakov cookbook, and they made the mocha cake. So I'm just putting it here if you guys want to screenshot it so that you guys can recreate it. But they just made them into little muffins instead of a cake. At this point, the chicken drumsticks are looking fantastic and they're perfectly cooked, and we can't wait to eat them. Look how juicy and sticky and yummy they came out. This next portion, I'll be sharing with you a few of the salads that I'm making. I'm making some honey glazed carrots over here. It's like a Korean carrot salad called markavcha. So I use a mandolin slicer, slice it thinly. I add in some salt, cumin, coriander, and I would say I do about half a teaspoon of each of these. And I'm going to be adding a good amount of garlic, about 4 cloves of them, a 1/4 cup of avocado oil, and about 3 to 4 tablespoons of vinegar, and about 2 teaspoons of honey. And I'm going to be using my gloved hands to mix it all thoroughly. And you really have to mix this with all of your heart and might until the carrots actually release their own juices. This next, I guess, dip is what I would call it, is an avocado mash. So I'm just taking about 4 to 5 avocados, scooping them out, adding in tons of lemon, some salt, black pepper, and a squeeze of garlic. I would say I used about maybe 3 to 4 garlic cloves in this. And here's my oldest over here. He's helping me mash it up. And my kids love this and they thoroughly enjoy it, and so do my husband and I. And we're going to be just adding in a little teaspoon of mayo, as you're going to see. For some reason, some people just say that it prevents it from browning, but I'll show you the trick that actually does prevent it from browning, is placing a plastic wrap right over the top and sealing it off so that there's no air. This next salad is one of my favorites, actually. It's a simple salad. It's just shredded cabbage, lots and lots of lemon, some dill, salt, and black pepper with a little bit of oil. It's very simple, but it's very citrusy and yummy and like salty and tangy. That's like my thing. I'm really enjoying right now. So once I add in all of those components, I mix it very well, but also I'm very gentle with the cabbage because you don't want to mush them because they'll just start to wilt on you. So I'm using a very light hand to incorporate all of the ingredients into the cabbage. That's it. We made it. The prep is all ready and everything came out so beautiful, so delicious, and so flavorful. I'm really excited and I'm so happy to bring this video to you guys for some inspiration, hopefully. And if you did enjoy this video and gain something out of it, I would so appreciate it if you would just take the time to click on that thumbs up button. It really does help my channel out so much. And if you know of anyone who would benefit from this video, then go ahead and share it with them as well. Happy prepping and Shana Tova from my family to yours.